All right, so some ideas about word problems in Pythagorean theorem. We're going to go through some ideas to help you better understand how to make the diagram, how to use Pythagorean theorem. So it says the three sides of a right triangle are given by the variable expressions x, x plus 3, and x minus 3. What type of triangle is it? They say it right in the first statement. What type of right triangle? Right triangle, so I draw myself a right triangle. So here's question number 1. Between x, x plus 3, and x minus 3, which one has to be the hypotenuse based on your knowledge of numbers? Absolutely. X plus 3 because it's greater than the other two. I know that because all of them have a coefficient of what? 1. Alright, if they don't have the same coefficient, then we would label it for you. Alright, now, it's not going to matter where you put the other two. So I'm going to put the x minus 3 there and x there. We need to know the longest one because we need the hypotenuse. Now, start with the Pythagorean theorem structure. Pythagorean theorem structure would be x squared plus x minus 3 squared equals x plus 3 squared. First off, I apologize. This should be your Y-O-U apostrophe R-E. I didn't mean to disable your English abilities. You're squaring binomials. What's the result? In other words, this is x squared. It's not going to affect that. But by a raising of hands, and no one's going to see it, camera's on the thing, how many people would write x squared minus 9 for the next one? Be honest with yourself. And you guys are good. Because it's not x squared minus 9. It's x squared minus 6x plus 9. So you guys went to town in algebra. Is everybody good with that idea? We square a binomial. We do x minus 3 times x minus 3. So we go back to doing distributive law or FOIL. Alright? Everybody's good with that idea? So for the same reason on the other side, I'd still have the x squared. The difference is the 3 is positive. So I got that. Now, making your life easier from the get-go. What constant do you see that is the same on both sides? None. Guess what I can do? Cross it out. Is there also an x squared on both sides? I can cross that out too. What does that leave me with? X squared minus 6x equals 6x. I'm then going to get it in standard form. I like my x squared positive, so I'm going to subtract 6x from both sides. The net result would be x squared minus 12x equals 0. Now I have a quadratic. It's not a difference of two squares, so I got to pull out a GCF. Do they both have x in them? Yep. I'm going to pull out x, and that's going to leave me with x minus 12 equals 0. That means I got two solutions, algebraically. What's one of the solutions? 0, good. And the other one would be the opposite of negative 12, which is 12. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember, every time you have a variable term factored out of the GCF, 0 is part of your solution. 0 is part of your solution. Now, we're going to go through it in a second. It can't be 0 because of the geometry portion of it, but it's still. If I go back to this, and I plug in 0, 0 squared is 0. 12 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 0 is 0. Basically, the mathematical reason is, originally they all had the variable in it. So if we made the variable 0, it would make everything on the one side 0. So that's the reason. When we pull it out, you just got to recognize that. You got that on the outside. That means I got to add 0. Comes from the opposite of the negative 12. So that's just like if we factored in like x plus 2, x minus 12. Okay. Add 0 to the solution. Yeah. because people tend to forget that from time to time. All right, now the 0. If I plug it in to my legs, why am I unhappy? Because what do I get when I plug the 0 in? 0 or negative number. So 0 is what? Extraneous. Leaving us with what is our only solution? 12. And now I'm going to plug it back in. There's the 12. What's 12 plus 3? 15. What's 12 minus 3? 9. When you get this on Thursday, so this is the quadratic that you'll get. You're going to get a multiple of a triple. You just have to justify your work. Okay, you just have to justify your work. Now, number 2, let's say you start with a stick that's 25 inches long. You break your stick in such a way that it hinges so that the ends of the stick are now 15 inches apart. All right. So basically, if you encounter this one on Thursday, I will give you the diagram. But that's what occurs. The stick breaks, creating a right triangle. If you get one like this, we'll give you the diagram. All right. How far apart are the two ends of the stick? 15. So that's that. We don't know what this edge is yet, so I'm going to call that X. Here's the tricky part. That part and that part is the whole part of the stick. What does that total up to, according to the problem? 25. So that means your hypotenuse is that original 25 taking away what? X. You can flip-flop them as well. The problem is, if you, well, no, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. You can flip-flop them. So you can have the X and the 25 minus X flipped. Make sense? Now what kicks in? Pythagorean theorem. X squared plus 15 squared equals 25 minus X squared. X squared plus 225 equals 625 minus 50x plus x squared. Again, squaring a binomial does not result in the squares of the terms. You've got to multiply everything together. What variable term is on both sides? They cancel out, meaning we no longer have a quadratic. Joy upon joy. I'm trying to solve for x. That's a positive 625. How do I get rid of a positive 625? Subtract 625. Negative 400 equals negative 50x. How do I get rid of multiplication by negative 50? Divide, and x is equal to what? 8. Meaning this side is 8, that one is 15, and this one is 25 minus 8, better known as 17. Again, another one of our triples. Good thus far? Yes, sir.
Why is it that it's 25 minus x instead of like 25 minus?
You talking about this?
Yeah.
Because the stick, and again, this is why we would give you the diagram in a problem like this. That's the stick. The darkened in part. So that totaled up to the 25. Those two sides. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's like, it's as if the stick was here, then it went like that. So these two parts, what was my fist in the pen, are now the 25. So we're going to assign either one of these a value, and then the other one is just whatever that variable is from the original length.
Why isn't the stick the x on the 15? Because it says the piece is like a right angle.
It says the ends of the stick are now 15 inches apart. Assume it should have been right angle with the ground. That help? Again, I would give you a diagram for that. Everybody else good? plane is currently flying at an altitude of 30,000 feet and is 100 horizontal miles from its destination. We're going to start talking about vocab words. How much further must the plane fly until it lands? Round the nearest foot, but put your answer in miles and feet. Find the straight line distance. So again, your quiz is exclusively Pythagorean theorem. So you're going to have yourself a right triangle. Everybody good with that being the 30,000? It's the height. That, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to write as 528,000. Because you got to convert. 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. Good? Alright, so Pythagorean theorem kicks in. 30,000 squared plus 528,000 squared. And you're going to see that number in your calculator. Anybody think they know what the E stands for? Okay. Scientific notation. It's a very large number. So whenever you see a capital E like that on this calculator, that's part of the reason we're going to this. That's scientific notation. So technically, that's 2.79684 times what? 10 to the 11. It's a big number. But with Pythagorean theorem, whatever that number was, what did we then do? The square root. Now, just to make sure we all understand, there's multiple ways to do the square root. One way is to do second squared. So that's second and then the squared button. Alright? Now, if we want to select that number above it, all we got to do is hit up and highlight. And we hit enter. It'll automatically bring that down. Good? Now we hit enter, and we get that number, 528,851.586. All right. So now we want to do the conversion. This is what we want to do. We want to write down 528,851.586. And we want to divide that by the conversion rate, which we will give you, which is what? 5,280. Good? Good? So I go back here, and I divide by 5,280. I get that. Makes sense so far? So I got 100.16 miles. But the problem wants you to round to the nearest what? Foot, and put your answer in miles and feet. So this is 100.16 miles, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to write 100 miles on my paper. I'm then going to go to my calculator, and I'm going to get rid of that 100. The easiest way to get rid of the 100 is hit what? Minus 100. Make sense? I have that. That's my decimal part. That's my feet. But I need to write that in terms of feet. There's 5,280 feet in a mile, so I multiply by what? 5,280. 851.5. Is 851.58 closer to 851 or 852? 852. So I write 852 feet. Now, if that's a problem worth 8 points on Thursday's quiz, you give me this, you're getting like 6.5, 7 out of 8. You got to be able to convert it to get the 8 out of 8. Yes, sir.
Why isn't it the top of the line?
Why isn't it the what?
Like you see that, like the diagonal line?
Right.
Triangle. Why isn't it that?
This one? Because that's in feet. And it says it wants an answer in miles and feet. So that's why we had to divide by the 5. So this is numerically part of your answer. We divide by the 5 to 80 because that puts it back in a mile. Because they want it in miles and feet, not just feet. This is in feet, but it wants the answer in miles and feet.
So why is that one different than, why is that?
Because this is just feet.
So what that's the answer?
But you want miles and feet. It wants the answer in...
Is the 100 and 852, is that the same like number? Is that the same?
Yes.
Okay.
This number and that number are the same.
Okay.
I just converted it. Alright? Diagonal of a rectangle measures 26.4 centimeters. The longer side of the rectangle is 18.7 centimeters. To the nearest tenth place, what is the length of the rectangle's shorter side? So I draw a rectangle on the diagonal. Rectangle's made up of what kind of angles? Right angles. What does the diagonal measure? 26.4. What is the longer side measure? 18.7. From there, what do we have? Pythagorean theorem. You go from there. Okay? That's where we'll pick it up tomorrow. If you haven't done it already, make sure you finish 8.2.